What is the worst class in Wizard101? Okay, let's start off by saying the astral class like Sun, Moon, and Star, they don't count. It's only starting classes. We're definitely gonna get rid of Storm because it's probably one of the best. It's rateable with Fire because it's high damage despite its health. You can probably solve the whole game just like I did. Fire, as I said, it's probably the second or first best in the game. It's damage over time. Its overall damage is just OP. We're also gonna get rid of Death. Death is just the healing. The damage is alright. The healing is what makes it OP. Without the healing, who knows how OP it would have been. We're also going to get rid of Myth because its summoning kind of carries and its overall does good enough damage for you to solo the game. Because I got a Myth, which has been like a whole month. I got to level 70, which proves that it's not one of the worst. And Life, it may not do as much damage, but you get healing and you can heal everyone instead of just healing yourself like you do with the other classes, which is why I'm not saying it's one of the worst classes in the game. It's probably like in between. And now that leaves us Balance and Ice. Firstly, it's a tough one because Balance, no prisms, and if you face someone that's a Balance class, you're probably screwed. And Ice, it's tanky but doesn't do much damage. For me, Ice is probably the worst out of the two because it's low damage. Yes, the high health is good, but I've played with an Ice and Balance. I've gone further in the game with Balance without dying. I've died like 3 times by the time I got to Crocotopia, and not because I'm bad at the game. I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional. Ice does no damage, and like if you solo, you might be fine, right? But eventually, the low damage will catch up to you, and you'll be screwed. But for Balance, you'll at least be able to blade yourself with like Balance Blade, Spirit Blade, and you'll get stuff that does damage from other classes, like the Hydra head thing, which I'll pop up on the screen right now. Which I don't know what the name is. And you get I think AoE damage, the tornado at level 16, whereas like Ice, you get like level 26, you get the blizzard. The reason I'm not saying, again, the reason I'm not saying Life, because it's healing. If you solo, you'll be able to get a shit ton of heals like the Saturn, I don't know the name, I'll pop up again on screen. That's very OP, you got to get a low level, unless I'm remembering it dumb. And Myth, I got to like level 70 something, like Azteca or Avalon, I don't know, like level 70 something. And Life, same. I got around it like just before my Myth, but I think I was on the same planet world thing. Overall, the other class why it's not the worst, including Balance. I'll say why Ice is the worst again. Death, it heals, and it's just overall very OP. I've gotten it to like Celestial. The heals are worth it. You get your Scarecrow relatively, I think relatively around the same level as like Life, and I think Ice on the first giant for Ice, and damage over time does a lot of damage, and damage on its own still does more damage than Ice. And the health is much better than the Storm, and yeah. And the reason why Storm's not the worst, minus its low health, low everything, but its damage is the highest in the world. The axe, you may fizzle over 5 seconds, don't worry about it, I know how it feels. It will do a shit ton of damage. I'm pretty sure late game, most of the stuff have like, you'll have like 50% accuracy, you'll be guaranteed to not fizzle by like mid-game like I have. So that's why it's not the worst, it's probably one of the best. I argue that, and Fire and Death. And Balance. Balance isn't the worst because, well, it's debatable. I would debate that Balance and Ice are the 2 worst cards, but I would debate that Balance and Ice are the 2 worst classes in the game to start with. And no one really can change my mind. I can give 3 reasons, 5 reasons why the other classes aren't the worst. Okay, to start with, Balance. You can blade yourself to do more damage. You get your blades relatively earlier. You do relatively more damage than Ice. And despite the fact that I have prisms, it could be OP late game, like when you get the Hydra thing from the trainer in Crocotopia. Fire. Damage over time does a shit ton of damage. It straight up does a lot of damage. And number 3, it's just OP. It doesn't have a high chance to fizzle. It has high health for It has high health for someone who does like a shit ton of damage. It has a high health for someone who does a shit ton of damage. And overall, just very OP. You should probably do that for your next character, which I should probably do that. Life, it heals. If you don't have heals, what do you want to do? Get rid of the heals, it's like getting rid of Ice classes, Tower Shield, and all its shields and health. It's overall does better damage than balance, which it would obviously mean that it's better than balance, which makes it not the worst class in the world. And myth. It summons trolls, minions, whatever. It's very good for early game. Later on, I don't think you end up using it. And like earthquake and all that stuff. It's OP, can give it like shields, blah blah blah. It's just overall OP. And here's the 3 reasons. Summoning, overall high health for its high damage, and overall medium/high health. Damage. And overall medium/high damage. And finally, death. There's one main reason, and if you get rid of this one main reason, it's shit. You're screwed, you're fucked, you're gonna get shit on by literally everything. The healing. The first heal is, I think, the Rotting Fodder guy. I don't know what his name is for the spell, like goal, whatever. Without it, it does like no damage. You're screwed, you're crapped. It does overall, I would say low to medium, but more towards the medium side than low. It does more damage than life and balance and ice. I'm thinking it's relatively around the same with myth. And basically, it's not the worst. And now, I will give 3 reasons why ice is the worst. Number, or maybe I'll go as long as I want. I give 3 to 5 reasons. 1. It has relatively low damage. Yes, it has high health, but that won't help if you're gonna eventually get shot on late game by people who critical hit every 5 seconds, and they do high damage already. Even if it's, or maybe the exception late game is when you face ice, because they don't spam fire shields as they do like in Colossus Boulevard, for example. Number 2, you get all your spells like Blaze relatively later than other classes. For example, nice, I think you get like level 26 or something. You guys know that ice arena where you go to find the Order of the Fang or something in Crocotopia? You get it around there if you don't do any side quests. But Stormblade, Fireblade, you get it like Wizard City, not Storm, but Fire, you get your blade in Wizard City. But then the trap's late, but you get everything relatively late besides like the ice trap, which is like the first thing that you learn, I'm pretty sure, but it's pretty useless early game because you basically one-shot everything, unless like you include bosses, which is then it's useful. Number 3. This is for cost solo. Ice. It's known for its health and its shields. Are you gonna shield yourself? Unless you're saying for stuff, you gotta blade yourself, you gotta trap them. When would you have time to shield yourself? If you shield yourself, you just wasted time, you just letting the enemy attack you and kill you. Like, what are you doing if you pick ice? I'm going through an ice walkthrough right now. I've died so many times. It's not because of the fact that I'm doing a no bizarre challenge only with my gear. Because I got OP gear from that one quest from that one person I forgot the name of. But overall, ice high damage, no. But overall, ice low damage, high health. I would rather high damage low health, like Storm. Because I've experienced how good Storm is. I've rarely fizzled with Storm. I've fizzled more with ice than I have with Storm. I've like died less. I'm like up to Celestial, like I mentioned earlier. I think around there, or Dragon Spire, maybe a bit earlier. I fizzled less with that Storm in like 6 worlds than I have with ice in one single world. I fizzled like 7 times alone in the Unicorn way than I have with my Storm. I fizzled like 3 times in Storm in my entire career that I can remember of. Other than that, it's crap. Anyways, just to recap the video, I'm gonna rank the classes from worst to best. There's Fire, and also that's not including the Astral guys, like the Moonstar, the where you get the buffs for like the more damage or like etc. But there's Fire, Ice, Storm, Death, Myth, Life, and Balance. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anything, but number 7, Ice. It's overall, you have high health, but you have low damage and like you do no damage. Number 6, Balance. The only reason I would say Balance is because no prisms and probably the second lowest damage after like Life or something, and Life just makes it up for it with its healing. Number 5. This is a tough one. I'll say Life and Myth. I'd slightly edge it to Life, only not because of its low damage, but because it's a bit like Ice. Well, yeah, it's because of its low damage actually, come to think of it. It may have heals, That's the only reason why it's not lower, like around the ice tier. Number 4. Myth. The only reason because of myth is because if it had a slight health and damage increase, I feel like it's a bit low for myth because of its summoning. It would probably be above death. If they are to do that, they'll probably get rid of the summonings, and they'll probably change the whole storyline like they did like a million times for when you start the game and you do your enrollment. They changed like 7 times or like 8 times if I remember correctly. Feel free to correct me in the comments. No, but just number 4. Number 3, death. The only reason I say death is number 3 is because its health is a bit low, and I get it's because you heal, but well, self-explanatory. It should do, in my opinion, it should do more damage, not more damage. It should have more health and do slightly more damage, and then it would be about fire, in my opinion. And number 2, I can't spoil it. Fire. The only reason it's not above Storm is because its health, it may be higher than Storm, yes, but it's relatively medium low-ish, in my opinion. Unless I'm remembering it dumb and just videos a fail. It's just overall very OP. Not as OP as Storm. It's if it didn't do like fire over time, like damage over time. I mean, I guess fire, it's realistic, right? Somewhat realistic. It would have been like, you know, better than Storm. It's just that over time, it ruins you, it might kill you eventually, but I've seen people complete the game easily with fire. It's just my opinion, and yeah. If it does slightly more damage or has slightly more health, I'd say it would be better than Storm. And number 1, obviously I spoiled it, it's Storm. It's basically, no, Life was the first I've used, but Storm has always been my favourite because of its high damage. I've basically never fizzled with Storm, even though it's supposed to have the highest chance to fizzle. Its health may be low, but I've rarely died with Storm as well. So I know what I'm doing. I've been playing since like 2013, 2014. Basically when I started primary school, in America you guys call it elementary school. And basically, yeah. We're basically gonna say that Storm is basically the best class in the game for me. No debate. Everyone who played Wizard101 had this dilemma in the game. What school should I start with? Should I go for Death because I can drain the enemy's health and give it to myself? Should I go for Storm because it does the most damage? Well, today I will answer that question. What school should you start with when you first start playing Wizard101? Firstly, we'll take in multiple factors. Do you want to do high damage straight up? Do you want to do damage over time, heal others, buff others, have a high health character, drain enemies' health and take it for your own, or do you want to summon minions to do your own job? This is where I need you to answer these next few questions that I'll give you so that you can decide what school you want to choose. Firstly, do you want to do high damage straight up? If so, then Storm is the one school for you. As in every game, whichever does the most damage also has the lowest health, which is the case for Storm. It does the most overall damage early, mid, and late game, however it has the worst accuracy and lowest health in the game. So if you want to go for the school that does the most damage, and you don't mind the accuracy of Storm being the lowest at I think 70 or 75%, and also with the lowest health, then Storm is the school for you. Next question. Do you want to summon minions to do your job? Then Myth is the school for you. Myth's earliest summon is the Golem summon, which you get after you beat Unicorn Way. Lore wise, Myth is supposed to rely on its minions to win its battles, with its medium damage and medium health. However, realistically, after you get Humonga Frog and your Myth Blade and your Myth Trap, it's almost irrelevant and useless, and as a level 74-ish Myth, I can confirm I don't use the summons anymore, so at the cost of it being almost irrelevant after Croctopia, you can summon minions. With the first minion you get, however, is absolute dog shit, but it's usable for Wizard City, but post Old Town you'd have gotten a Troll minion, which is way better than a Golem minion, which is 1 to 4 pips. The more pips used between 1 to 4, will summon a higher rank Troll to help you, which is much better than the Golem. So if you want to summon minions to do your work, then Myth is a school for you. Do you want to buff others? Do you want to heal others? Then Bounce or Life is the one for you, depending on which one you want to do. I'll start with buffing, however, which is Balance. Balance doesn't have Prism, meaning later on, when you face like high resistance balance bosses and enemies, you're fucked. You're screwed. You're absolutely gonna get shot on if you're doing solo. With the exception of Balance moves, which uses other schools such as Hydra, which basically uses Storm, Fire, and Ice attacks all at once. I would recommend not using this if you're soloing, but if you're playing with 1 to 3 other players, like in a squad of 4, or trio of 3, or duo of 2, it could be a decent school. Since you're balanced, you don't need to use training points on things such as elemental blades and traps. Overall, it has good health, and you get an AoE spell at level 16, which is the earliest of all schools, I'm pretty sure. However, you don't do as much damage. However, you don't do as much damage as the other schools, which is another negative of the school. But in short, if you want to buff others, then balance is a school for you. Now onto healing others, which is life. If you want to do that, then choose life, as I said earlier. Life is based on healing others, and unlike the other school, you can heal others with Pixie. It also heals for, I think, 20 more health, I'm not sure. As a level 72-ish life as well, I can confirm you can solo a lot of the game, but overall it's better to play with others so they can heal them. Overall, however, life has the highest HP, I think, after ice, and I think it's overall better than balance if you want to solo it, in my opinion. And also, maybe in a team, depending on how late you are in the game. It also has the highest accuracy with, I think, 90 or 95-ish%. So, yeah. So to cap off life, if you want to heal others, then go and choose life because it's a school for you. Next question. Do you want to drain enemies' health and be like Dracula and heal yourself while you're using it? Then death is the school for you. Death relies on you draining the health of enemies to heal yourself. Overall with decent health and decent damage. I'll go up to Celestial, whatever the frick you want to call it. The world after, what do you call it, Dragon Spire. And I did all by myself relative ease because of the health drain. So, yeah. In a team, it's OP too, but it relies mostly on itself rather than buffing or healing others, making it better on its own. However, when you choose death, you realize there isn't much spells to learn. But that's where you're wrong. Master absolutely shut on the dead school when his wife died, and he destroyed it, hence the creator near the fire school. And also hence, again, your trainer being near it. But that's not the point. The point is, it doesn't matter, because you won't learn all the spells until like early to mid Crocotopia. Which is when you'll 100% unlock Night Side again, which is where the death school went after After Malastair, so-called, exploded the death school and died with it, which is where you'll meet Dworgen, which is, again, where you'll get more spells. And which is where you'll meet your actual trainer with all the spells, like, unlike Malorn, who's I think like acting professor, whatever he says at the start of the game. So, in short, do you want to drain enemies' health for your own? Then death is the one for you to choose at your school. Next question. Do you want to be the big tank? Do you want to be Goliath? If you're Bible readers, you know what I'm talking about. Then ice is the one for you. It has the worst damage, but the highest health. I'm currently soloing as an ice, and I just got up to Marleybone as I recorded this. I died so much more times than others. It is recommended to use ice if you're playing in a team or with your friends and not alone. The HP, yes, is the highest of all schools, but has the lowest or possibly second lowest of all classes in damage. It's tanky, yes, however, the ice school gets its blade a lot more later than the other schools, which is another disadvantage of the ice school. The spells you get from Wizard City and Crocotopia are also mid, like you know those ones you get for playing quests, like for Myth you'll get Golden Minion after beating Unicorn, like that, it's kind of mid if you want to, like you get stun, stun block, all that type of stuff, and steal.
You have a blue
Steal like the wards or blades, I don't know which one, but it's like that type of stuff, really mid. But in short, do you want to be a big ass tank? Then ice is a school for you. And last question, for the final school. Fire. Do you want to incinerate your enemies slowly to death? Well then, fire is a school for you. Fire relies heavily on incinerating enemies slowly rather than straight up damage like how every other school, like Storm, Ice, basically every other school does. You might think, oh, isn't that bad? Wouldn't the enemies kill me before I can deal maximum damage? Well, even so, it's like Storm a bit. Well, minus the action health. It has decent health and high damage, and in my opinion, it's the second best school overall in PvE and PvP after Storm. I could debate it to being the best in PvP after before Storm, and Storm's probably second best. Which I obviously think Storm's the best, as I mentioned earlier. It also does the second best damage overall and can be debated to being the best school in PvE as well, even over Storm. Its incineration is so OP and the best of all, it doesn't have the worst HP and accuracy, so yeah. Even its base damage before it does the maximum damage, it's still more OP than like Ice and Myth and basically every other school has like Death and Storm. But overall, I think it does slightly like pull like 1 to 10%, depending on the spell, 1 to 10% less damage than Storm, and like more like pull like 5 to 10% more than Death. But overall, it's second best in my opinion in PvE, probably the best in the PvP, and yeah. It doesn't have the worst HP, and actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned that already, which I think is in the middle when it comes to like starred classes with most health. And the accuracy I think is like 80-ish%. But overall, if you want to slowly incinerate and kill your enemies over time, then fire is a school for you. Obviously, we're not gonna address schools like the astral guys, like Moon, which is the polymorphs, Star. I think Star's like, you know, the things go around you which buff you for a certain amount of turns, and Sun. of course, got, you know, those fist things I'll put up on the screen right now. The fists that make your cards do more damage. They're not star classes, so we won't address those. And also, if you choose balance, you'll notice that some guy from Marleyburn, some dog guy, I don't know what his name is, I forgot his name, because I've rarely done balance. He only has, he's like Melon, barely has any spells. Well, as I said for death, you won't learn all your spells like until you get to like the Crocker Sphinx, which is where you meet your actual trainer, which is annoying because yes, it's another world, so annoying, blah 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 blah. But it's worth it, not really worth it, it's probably like the second worst, possibly worst class in PvE. But overall, yeah, it's in another area just like death. And that is the last of the schools. I hope you found out what class you want to choose, and I also hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe. Comment what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.